Okay, we're good to go.
All right, thank you very much. All righty, it's 6:03, so we do have a quorum and we'll start the meeting. I know we do have some members of the public attending, and I believe they would like to speak. So Jeff, can you perform your magic?
Sure, let me, does it matter which order? I'm just gonna go from the top.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hello, can you hear us? We don't have a name for this one. It's just the phone number 203-216-7613.
Well, I think you're muted.
You're muted. We'll give it a second.
Yeah, Jeff, do you need to unmute the phone numbers, or can they do that themselves?
Well, they have to, so I click a button to ask to unmute. They have to actually unmute.
Okay, thank you. Learning something new tonight.
We can move on to the next person. Harrison Leavens, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Harrison.
Hey, Harrison.
Hey, all. So I work with Sam at Cycling Sports Group, and interested in getting involved. So figured I'd join and just listen in.
All right, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Hey, Sam.
And we had one more, right?
Yes.
The phone caller is,
1 second.
I believe, with the PTA from Tracy, and can't find the unmute button. Is that something we can assist with, maybe?
Sorry, say that one more time, Colin.
I believe the person from the public is on mute on the phone. I don't know if we can help them unmute. I don't know how to do that on phone.
Well, I hit a button and then they have to unmute it. I think it's if they're just a dial-in phone, there's a combination they have to use. Let me see if I can.
She's on chat. I think she's on the chat now.
Yeah, it looks like she just added the chat.
Yeah, she's calling in both from the phone and from Zoom. It looks like.
So Nickey Ayers is on the chat. I don't see anyone else though. I can let Nickey Ayers in, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds like it'll work.
Nickey, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I was more used to Zoom than I am. I don't know. Good morning, everyone. Oh, good morning. Good evening, everyone.
Good
my
evening.
name is Ayers. I am the PTA president for Tracy Magnet School here in the city of Norwalk. And I'm taking the time tonight to bring some things to the commission's attention that I do not know if you are aware of. Tracy Magnet School is a neighborhood school, but we have some severe traffic and walking and biking situations. We have many elementary school age children riding their bikes and walking to school. But because of the level of traffic on Camp Street, it's causing much concern that we are just waiting for an incident to happen. It's gonna happen. We're just waiting for the incident to happen. The traffic pattern is not conducive to walkers and bicyclers. We have also, I believe, last school year before the COVID pandemic, asked for a traffic analysis. And we know that they came out, but there was not much movement with that. And I'm coming before the commission today, 2 reasons. One, to bring the issue to your attention. Maybe you can do some additional work in seeing if there is any solutions that can come, particularly for our walkers and our little cubs that are riding their bicycles to school on a daily basis. And my second part, after bringing this to you, is to ask you to partner with our community for us to come up with some resolutions. We have tried to put in policies such as delayed entry. So walkers come at one time, drop off come at another time, but the congestion is just overwhelming. Unfortunately, we do not have an SRO, which is a police officer there all the time. Maybe once a week we get a police officer that can help with traffic flow, but those other 4 days you're kind of left on your own. We thought about maybe we have looked at other schools such as Columbus and Jefferson that have time limits on traffic and to help eliminate some of the traffic on Camp Street, but we are just at a standstill. And so we are really seeking some guidance and some help to make it a safe morning drop off and pick up for our Cubs. Thank you.
Well,
I don't
thank
know if
you.
there's any questions. Okay.
And we do have 2 members of the Transportation, Mobility, and Parking Department of City Government on this call. And I don't know whether Mike, you or Greg would have any suggestions of how to proceed, or if there are any commissioners that would like to do a little brainstorming. Yeah, Tanner.
Yeah, so first of all, Nickey, thanks so much for coming and voicing your concern. This is exactly the kind of thing that we love to help out with, or at least speaking for myself. I love to help in situations where there's clearly already a demand for people walking and biking. In this case, your students. I would love to brainstorm some ideas. The first thing that crossed my mind, which is maybe not the most low effort, but it might have a big impact. I was looking at Camp Street on the map. I've driven down Camp Street before. I have a friend who used to live on that street, and I would pick him up and drop him off, actually. So I'm familiar with the school and the way the street's laid out. I wonder if, at the very least, if at times when students are coming and going from the school, if the street could be turned into a no-through traffic street. In particular, like if we could put like a temporary barrier up. It looks like at the south end of the little drop-off loop, there's also a crosswalk. And if a barrier could be put up between the drop-off loop and the crosswalk, turning the street effectively into 2 halves that you can't drive from one to the other. Of course, that would mean that anybody dropping their child off would have to come from the north and then go through the loop and then exit back out through the north. It means that people who live on the south half of the street would only be able to access the street from the south, from what is that, North Avenue? But it means that there would be no traffic at that crosswalk that's at the south end of the drop-off loop, because no cars would be going back and forth between the 2 halves of the street, and thus the crosswalk there could be guaranteed to be quite safe. So that's my first idea.
Quite a bit of residential there, though. School starting at like probably what, 7:45. Kids start getting there around 7:30. That could be a barrier.
It's a little bit later than that.
No, Tracy is a late school, so we drop off is at 8:35.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're a late school.
Yeah, so I can lend some input, and I actually had some dialogue with Nickey and some of the members of the committee that they've got. Being a Tracy parent myself, there's a lot of complexity in this, and that the traffic for Tracy really does choke Camp Street in particular, and I think it clips substantially. And basically lock it down for about 45 minutes. Once students get received, the queuing lessens substantially in about 15 minutes or so is really when you start to have some sort of flow and controlled traffic queuing. But prior to that, I would say, Nickey, I don't know what it's like for the people in cars, but it's I would guess around 8 o'clock to 8:30. It's pretty much a log jam, and I don't have much experience with pickup in the afternoon. But I imagine there's a substantial point prior to the bell and opening up, student exit, that there's a lot of logjam as well. I think it's something that, is worth a fair amount of study. There's some good things that Tracy does have going for it in terms of encouraging multimodal arrivals and departures to the school, in that it's on a Norwalker route, which is good. So that means that if we do need to look for sources of funding, maybe there are some health grants that could be available. There's safe routes to school might be available, and then there's other potential walkability and livability grants that might be, if we're looking at actually improving infrastructure to encourage neighborhood activity as well as just try to solve the problem. I thought there was a good cross section of things that we could look to find funding for a project in this area. But it's definitely not I don't think it's a simple solution, unfortunately. And I did talk with Mike Yosik a little bit just about what the city had looked at in the fall, but he's here, so he can speak for the city on that.
Yeah, Colin, you're right. It's not a simple situation, especially in the afternoon, because you've got people picking up kids that are starting to stack up at almost an hour or an hour and a half before school even lets out, and it just creates a massive traffic jam there. And it is a problem for walkers and parents picking up their kids. And we started looking at it almost just a couple of days before the pandemic hit, and so we didn't have much time to do anything. And
Mike, one question I would have is that I know that section of North Avenue is very congested as well. Do you, from a city standpoint and from some of the other large projects that have been presumably had traffic reports done in the area, like Head of the Harbor North, or some of the stuff that's been kicked around on Knight Street, or any other large projects, do we know how much of the traffic on North Street is school related versus just crosstown traffic and Route 1 traffic?
We can get a pretty good idea, I think, from the project that was supposed to take place there on Knight Street and trying to.
Yeah, the apartment building. That was
Yeah, the apartment buildings. Yeah, we might be able to pull some of that information out, and we were able to get a little bit, right, but then we didn't have much time to get counts when COVID hit. So
yeah, I think that would be an interesting thing to kind of aid in the analysis, is just looking at what, because North and Camp being congested roughly at the same times with AM commute and PM commute and school pickup drop off is, it's hard to analyze if you don't know what the contingent is of the school traffic, right? So it's like you don't want to do something that will affect North if it's already congested.
Yeah, Nickey, could I just ask you a quick question, because I'm
Yes.
not familiar with what goes on at Tracy School or any of the other schools for that matter. Does at dismissal time, do the walkers and the bikers get dismissed before the people who are getting picked up by the cars, so they have sort of a head start before the cars start moving?
They do, but the issue is school lets out at 3:10. People start lining up at 2:00.
Well, yeah,
So,
but at least the cars are stationary, right? Because they're
no, because you have Camp Street residents coming in and out. You have buses coming up and down the road. You have through traffic. I guess that's the proper terminology. If I'm saying it wrong, please excuse me. You have people that are not coming to the school, but just going through the street, going around and in and out of cars.
okay.
Since the beginning of the school, we've had 2 accidents two near misses, a child that ran in the street. It's a constant issue. And there is a crosswalk there and a crosswalk guard there, but as the school community, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what else to suggest or what else to do. Can't stop people from coming at 2 o'clock to pick up. We've sent out notices asking people not to come so early. It doesn't, people do what they're gonna do. And then the traffic, unfortunately, it hangs out in the street.
Okay.
So it's in the driveway and it hangs into the street.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Oh, sorry, Nance.
Yeah, Christine?
No, Nickey, thank you for being on here tonight. And I just want to say thank you for your passion and looking out for the kids. I hope maybe you would consider joining our commission actually at some point. But I come home, I work in the school, I come that way. And that Adams Avenue, it's a cutthroat. It's very dangerous. And I brought this up to the commission maybe 2 years ago on Union Avenue. There's a bus stop and there's no crosswalk. There's signage, but the signage is deceiving because it's on both sides and it looks like kids can cross to get to the other side of Union, where traffic's going to stop to let them go, and it's not stopping. All it is a warning, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Okay. I do.
And then, thank you. And then the Adams Avenue is a one-way street and it's a cutthroat. So you've got people just cutting through. And then all those cars are backed up and you make that turn to cut through and all of a sudden you're upon this whole line of traffic and kids walking around. It's a mess. So to me, I think that something should be done immediately because schools now, parents are dropping kids off. There's many more vehicles now at any school you go to because of the COVID. I think it's maybe somebody should try to get a police officer a dedicated police officer at that time. Because I do agree with you. I think it's a crisis, an accident waiting.
We do have an SRO officer, but we shared that person with 3 other schools. So they're not just our officer. And the point that you brought up about Adams and Eclipse, I know a lot of attention is brought to the north or Route 1, but Adams and Eclipse is also such a dangerous situation. On garbage day, which I believe is Thursday, when the garbage truck is coming in the morning, you can't go around the garbage truck because the street is not wide enough. So then all of that traffic is backed up to where the cemetery is. So it's multiple things going on, and any help, we are so open to any help because we really, as parents, we just don't know what to do. We know it's an issue. We just don't know what to do.
Yeah. Nickey, have you talked to the police department at all?
We did. They came out and they were a part of the initial, site thing to assess the need. At that time, they did say it was an issue, it was a need, and then nothing else happened. When I reached out back to them, unfortunately, that resource officer has since passed away, and we have not been able to get anybody else to come and address our concern.
The reason I'm asking is I know that at the school that was Jefferson School, for years, the parents have closed a block of that street that runs by the school at both, I believe, the start time and the dismissal time. And whether we could talk to the police, at least in the short term, if you could get some parent volunteers to agree to do that, if there were a way that we could perhaps close off the traffic around the school and authorize your volunteers to actually do that, at least if that would then give Mike and his team some time to look at longer term solutions.
Okay, I'm jotting that down. So I have a PTA meeting. So yep, I will bring that to the body's attention.
Okay, and I can get your contact information from Colin, I believe, right? So maybe you and I can pursue this offline, and then we can get back to the commission on where we are and maybe get some broader involvement by some members of the commission.
Thank you so much for that.
All righty. Well, hopefully we can get to both a short-term and a longer-term resolution of the problem.
Nancy, can I ask Ms. Ayers one more question before she goes?
Sure.
So I'm thinking about this from perhaps a different point of view, and that is what strategies might we employ to cut down on the number of vehicles that even show up at the school or on Camp Street? Do you know, based on feedback from parents or even from kids, do you know if there are particular reasons that kids who are getting dropped off, reasons that we could help mitigate? For example, I think it was Christine, you brought up the lack of a crosswalk on Union Avenue by Adams. Are there other places where maybe a crosswalk is missing that if it were there, kids could walk to school, but right now they have to be dropped off? Or are there other things that we might be able to help with that would allow more kids to come without a car?
So Tracy is considered a neighborhood school. I don't know, but if you look at the density, I can't talk right now. If you look at the houses that are around Tracy, they're family houses with multiple children and multiple family houses that surround that school. So there's a large percentage of people who walk. Even though there's a large percentage of people who pick up, there's a large percentage of people who walk because there's so many houses around, so many multi-family houses around that the kids walk to school. In regards to why are there more cars? Well, one, we do know, I can share with the commission that there are less children taking school buses because of COVID restrictions. Our school is not at 100% right now because we have a large percentage of our students doing virtual classes and traffic is still an issue. So if everybody was in the building right now, and we're talking about 438 students, I believe, if everybody was in the building, it would take us an hour to pick up and drop off. What's alleviating some of that time is we do have a large percentage of our students that are doing remote, and we have a large percentage of students that walk. Those cars are just, I don't know. I'm a person that picks up and drops off. I live on Ohio, which is 6 streets over. I guess I could essentially walk my son to school. I just pick up and drop off. But it's just a very high density. A lot of houses are in that area.
So, Nickey, I know I missed the meeting we were supposed to have, unfortunately. But if you were to look at your own experience, if you were to walk from Ohio, which is a little bit far, it's a little bit further than I walk, and it's probably I'd say that's pushing the boundary of what somebody would want to walk in the morning to the school. But what are the major impediments besides distance?
There's not enough crossing guards. We only have 2 crossing guards. We have one crossing guard that's right there at the school, and the other crossing guard is over by St. Philip's, I think. There's no crossing guard on. Is there a crossing guard on Route 1? I don't know. There might be. I don't come that way, so there might be. There's not a lot of crossing guards. There are some kids that live by me that walk to school, and I look and I shake my head and I go, that's not safe. Everybody has SUVs and very large cars. Our kids are small, and many times you can't see over, those cars to see those little kids. And that's a concern of parents. We've heard that concern over and over in our PTA forums. The other concern is we have a lot of families that have multiple children. So it's not one parent walking one child to school. We have one parent that is juggling 3 kids, and that might not just be conducive. Those are the only things that I have heard, but I have no problem sending out a questionnaire and getting some more parent input on exactly what is the decision to walk, what is the decision to drive.
Yeah, I think that would be super useful.
Okay, not a problem.
I agree.
Okay, well, thank you again, Nickey, and I will follow up with you, and perhaps we can have a meeting with some members of your PTA group as well as the interested commissioners, and have a brainstorming session devoted just to this topic. And I will also contact the police and see if we can set up a meeting with them to explore things we can do in the short term.
Absolutely. Just for the commission's information, we have created a Tracy task force, traffic task force, which is representative of teachers, administration, parents, and the student governance. So if you just email me, I can bring that body together and they will be very open to meet with you. And thank you again.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, to continue on with our agenda, the next topic is the approval of the November 2nd meeting minutes, which were distributed with the agenda. Could I have a motion to accept? Judd, and a second? Okay, thanks, Sam. Were there any additions or corrections? Okay, if not, all those in favor, wave your hand. Opposed? All right, thank you. Since we are running a little behind schedule, I will ask everyone to be as brief as possible in their reports, and I will include myself in that. First of all, there was a question about Norton Place and whether it was part of the East Norwalk TOD or not at our last meeting. And it is not part of that TOD as I thought, just to close that loop. To close one more loop, Christine has been nagging us to join the League of American Bicyclists, and thanks to Mike, we now are members of the league. As far as our safety card, I did order 500 in Spanish, distributed 50 English and 25 in Spanish to the Norwalk Housing Authority to put in their foyer for when their residents come in. And they also have included that information in their newsletter. I spoke to Norwalk Acts, and they are including that information in their newsletter. And I delivered 60 English and 30 Spanish to the Carver Center. And I also delivered 30 to Mary Oster for the early childhood program. And she is in the process of putting together welcome bags for the kindergartners who will be starting in January. And she would like to put one of the cards in English and one of the cards in Spanish in each one of these bags, because they don't know whether the recipients are Spanish speaking or English speaking. And she wanted to know if we would be interested in doing that. And she needs 500, and the cost to the commission would be $498 for the 500 in Spanish plus the 500 in English. And if that is agreeable to the commission, I will go ahead and order them and have them delivered to Mary.
Nancy, I just have a question. I may have missed this before. Is the card, can it be English on one side, Spanish on the other?
No, because it's the bicycle tips on one side and walking tips on the other. So they are two separate cards. Okay. And I have distributed those in the past. As a matter of fact, it was your student that translated the card into Spanish.
I vote for paying.
Okay. Is there anybody? Yeah, Judd.
I think it's a great idea, and having both cards, one in English, one in Spanish, is a great idea, because you're probably going to have some households where there are people who are predominantly English speakers and who are predominantly Spanish speakers under the same roof. So,
okay. Does anybody have an objection? Let me make it maybe quicker that way. Okay, if not, I will go ahead and do that. I think what I may do is we did have a meeting to talk about the equipment that we ordered last June. The bike fix-it station and the 6 bike racks and the yield to pedestrian signs. But since we're running a little behind schedule, Mike, I know wherever it is you've managed to secret these things away. might want to get rid of them. Is it a problem for you if we defer discussion of that till January?
No, that's fine. They're stored over in our place at DPW highway.
Okay.
Yeah.
An undisclosed location. All right, thanks a lot, because that saves us a little bit of time. And the last topic is I did include some questions as an attachment in the agenda that Colin and Judd and I put together for the interviews for Director of DPW, not DPW, excuse me, TMP. And as most of you know, I'm a big fan of transparency. And so I wanted you all to know what we had recommended. However, I didn't stop to think that making them publicly available might be an advantage to some of the interviewees and not to others who didn't know about it. So I apologize particularly to Judd and Colin, who I know spent a lot of time thinking about the questions and coming up with them. I hope that they will at least provide some background to the panel that will be interviewing the candidates. And in hindsight, what I should have done is waited until after the director was hired and then shared with you the questions that we had recommended. So again, my apologies for that oversight. And that's my report. So if we can then go on to our standing reports.
Nancy, hopefully some people are getting a good education by reading the questions and answers.
Yes.
So.
Thank you, Judd. Okay, Greg, transportation planner update.
Yes, so going through this real quick. So the connectivity grant still being reviewed by the state. We're going back and forth with them as far as the design is concerned. Seaview Avenue, at this point, there's no really major updates that we're working on right now. We're just kind of making some minor adjustments to the overall plan, but nothing major. The team has been meeting here and there. It's, you know, with the holidays, it got a little, you know, away from us for a couple weeks, but we're still, you know, been discussing and getting together on the improvements. We'll be beginning the outreach with the adjacent property owners coming up pretty soon. Steve and Planning and Zoning will kind of be handling a lot of that, as they already have a relationship with a lot of those property owners. So, you know, we're, you know, just kind of providing them with an overview and hear comments from them and any suggestions as far as what they see from a day-to-day basis that we can implement into the improvements, you know, going forward. I know we didn't have a bike plan meeting this month just because we not really much to talk about at this time. So we'll get together soon again once we kind of have more to update and hear some feedback on, so we can actually get something accomplished more. But we'll keep you posted on that. Last meeting, Strawberry Hill Ave at Route 1 was brought up as a concern as the state readjusted the lane structure and put an exclusive right turn lane and kept the Sharo in the right lane, so that if you're a cyclist, you have to go right onto Route 1 instead of going straight. So we looked it up. I did look at the state plans, and basically they just replaced the Sharo where it was previously with the new lane structure. So Mike and I had met and discussed this a little bit, and we're gonna, you know, obviously nothing can really get done as far as this year is concerned, you know, especially as far as striping is concerned. So we're trying to explore what we can do for, you know, for best improvements for that. You know, if it's just putting Sharo symbols in the left lane where the through and the left turn lane is, or, you know, restructuring the lane. The issue is, you know, there's no room for, you know, a bike lane, obviously, because it's just not wide enough with the two lanes, and the bike lane on the, what's that, the south side, south approach side on Strawberry Hill. So it's kind of difficult to come up with an easy solution. So we'll explore that throughout the winter time and see what kind of improvements we can come up with.
Greg, I just have a question about that because I raised that issue.
Yes.
If this would help or not. I'm just curious how it happened. It used to be no right on red there. Now it's, that sign is gone. So it's
Yeah,
red.
so Well, what they did was they restructured the lane, so that right lane is
Right.
now a right turn only lane.
Right. But I don't know
So,
if it would slow the situation down or better it if that's even an option to put it back, no red on red.
I didn't really explore that, but I mean, the thing is if you're a cyclist in the right lane and you're trying to go straight, the cars in the left lane aren't gonna see you, so,
No, I know,
I mean, there's,
but I was just to kind of give the cyclist a little bit of room to, either get behind the car or in front of the car.
yeah, I mean, obviously, the thing is with the Charter, you want the cyclist to be as visible as possible. So with that, we really would rather them be in the lane with the vehicles rather than next to them, so that when they go through the intersection and go into on the other side of Strawberry Hill, or Route 1, I should say, they don't run into the cyclists because they don't see them. So we want to get them as visible as possible.
Greg, can we, I think the bigger question that everybody probably has, and it probably goes to vehicle safety as well, but why did they make it a dedicated, why did they swap the orientation of the lanes?
I don't know the exact answer to, but more than likely, what they did was they looked at the turning movement counts and found that there were more vehicles that were turning right onto Route 1 as opposed to left. And just overall, with the signal timing and the queuing of traffic, they probably ran multiple forms of synchro analysis and found that an exclusive right turn lane was better than a left turn lane, as far as a better flow of traffic. And they changed the signal timings and the phases, and they found that there were probably less emissions and less queuing with the right turn lane as opposed to a left turn lane. That's the best I can come up with just from looking at the changes.
You're probably right, Greg, because as a driver, I go through there every day and I love it when you can make that right turn and the lane is much wider. Westport Ave is much wider, so it makes sense. But as a cyclist, it's a nightmare.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
no, I hear you. And I think also the green signal timing allows for more vehicles to turn right throughout multiple phases and not just the one phase of, oh, I can turn left here, but I can't turn left during any other phase. So if you have vehicles turning left from Route 1 onto Strawberry Hill, they can have the right green turn arrow for vehicles turning right onto Route 1, going the opposite direction. So it keeps that constant flow of traffic and less vehicles queuing up on Strawberry Hill. I know it's hard me just speaking about it as opposed to visually, but yes, Judd.
Yep.
Judd?
We don't have room there for a dedicated bike lane like you
No,
do.
because I know we looked at, obviously you would put it right in the center lane between the two lanes,
Right.
but there's just not enough. I mean, you're dealing with, I measured out, it's like 23 plus feet between the two lanes. So there's just there's no wiggle room.
And what about the incoming lane coming off of Route 1? What's the width?
That's
of
just
it?
one lane. And then
Right,
there's a
but
bike
what's the
lane.
width of that? Do you know?
Well, yeah, it's a standard 11 to 12 foot lane with a 5 foot bike lane. So, I mean, there's
Okay.
really, you can move all the lanes you want. You're only gonna
don't have
end up with a couple feet maybe. So, and then you got to look at the rest of the street as well. So there wasn't a bike lane there before they redid it. So,
Yeah, that intersection on the crash statistics for the city, I think it's like one of the #1 most crashes there, and I've witnessed several. So I don't know if that's why they did all that road work, widening Westport Ave, or for some other reason.
Yeah, that was a safety project.
yeah. Yeah, so Mike was probably involved in, before they were redoing it and the analysis and everything. So everything they did was for a reason. So they looked at the crash data and probably the queuing at the intersection, and that's why the changes were made.
Has it gotten better?
So
There's less traffic now, so it's probably hard to tell.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but that whole corridor from Strawberry Hill up to a little bit further past there was all a safety related improvements.
County Street, I think.
Yeah, County Street. You're right, Jed. I'm sorry. Yeah, from County to Strawberry.
Okay, well, everybody done?
Doesn't sound promising for, I mean, I don't know what you could do there, really, except caution a cyclist, right?
Everybody hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Greg.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, my internet just,
Greg, I just want to make a note of, point something out because I saw something on Neighbor Next Door. There was somebody upset by the sudden change in the traffic pattern with the East Norwalk Rotary. And what I'm thinking is this was a sudden change too. And I didn't realize it until I was upon it as a cyclist. I wonder if we should think about something in the future, and I don't know how we would do it, but a notification system for drivers and citizens of changes, major changes like this in the traffic pattern. I don't know, I'm just suggesting.
Chris, that intersection, there were, I don't know, maybe it was 3-4 years ago, Mike, you might remember, but there was a couple of public meetings about that. And Mike Mushak attended them and brought up cycling, and the ConDOT engineers were not receptive to anything cycling related at that time. Hopefully things have improved, but I remember Mike attended the meetings and found it frustrating. So, but I think, but it was went out. There were notices.
Can I ask what the change was in East Norwalk as well? My wife mentioned that the other day, and I didn't know what was going on. So,
as you're coming down Gregory Boulevard at the Rotary at the end there, we changed it to act more like a roundabout, like it should be, because what's happening is people are coming from one direction, they get in the Rotary and they're cut off by people coming down Gregory. They think they're going, that they have the right of way. So we made some changes.
Yeah, if you're not speaking, could you mute yourself? Because we're getting some music from somebody.
I think that was Mike.
Oh, sorry.
That was my phone, sorry.
Okay, so what, I guess if it was a Rotary, I guess I'm not understanding what changed, what people are complaining about. So, but if you...
They're not realizing they're supposed to yield on entrance to the Rotary.
Okay, so what did you guys do that made it different? Put up signage or?
We put up some yield signage.
Okay, so they're upset about signs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's nowhere near the intersection of Strawberry Hill.
Yeah, nowhere near Strawberry Hill. No, I just wanted to know what people were upset about. But I guess what I think is that kind of on the subject of those two topics, right, is that I remember the public meetings like Judd does. I don't think I might have attended one or, read some of the notices or anything, but that's so far out there. And when the project is getting close to completion, the city or the city on the state's behalf should put out a diagram or something of the completed project and, put it out on social, and just try to communicate that information out there. I think that would be helpful. It's just, I mean, to Christine's point, she found out about that on Nextdoor because people were complaining, and it's like there's a lot of people that are active, and I see East Norwalk Neighborhood Association is always posting stuff about how the city is going to be ruined in East Norwalk by various projects, but they get their hands on diagrams and plans and put it out there on these social sites. So, and the city runs some pretty good information sites. So, I mean, their COVID graph tracking has been fantastic. I look at that on a, almost daily basis. When these things get wrapped up, get it out there. Just let people know about it. I think
Mike, can you take that under advisement since most of the new stuff is coming out of TMP?
Yeah, a lot of times we do. We try to put like the variable message signs out there. Didn't think the East Avenue at Gregory was a little bit of a different situation, but the other one at County probably should, or at Strawberry Hill should have probably had something, but it was a state project. We weren't really involved in that. So
yeah, I should send you the New York DOT has a pretty good social on Facebook. I followed them a while ago just because they were posting some interesting plazas, and I mean, it's exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like they don't spend a lot of, well, they probably spend a little time on it with some intern or something like that, but it's like it's you know, they'll show kind of what the concept is, or you know, they'll update people and just throw it out there to Facebook land, and it's like, you know, hey, new changes coming ahead to XYZ road, and you know, beware of changing new traffic patterns or something. You know, I mean, you guys do a good job with the social in this city for the most part, so I don't see that it would be a horrible thing to just, you know, throw a graphic out and be like, hey, everybody, watch out for the new yield signs that are trying to make things safer at Gregory Boulevard roundabout, or, you know, check out the new traffic pattern at Strawberry Hill, you know, don't get caught.
Yeah, Colin,
not
if
paying
you
attention.
could forward that to Mike, and I think you've made your point.
Yeah, sorry.
So you can put the soapbox away for now.
Yep.
Yeah, Judd. Yep, you're on mute.
Yep. You know, sometime in the next month or two, we're going to have a new TMP director, and that seems like something that they would oversee, maybe, you know.
Yep.
So we can bring it up again.
Yep. Well, since you and I generally trot around and welcome new people to the city government, we can certainly do that.
Yep.
All right. Thanks very much, Greg.
You not
Okay,
want
Barb?
the presentation, Nancy, or
Pardon me?
you not want the Highland, or you want to save that for next time?
Yeah, if you don't mind saving it
Not at
until
all.
next time.
Not at all.
What are you saving?
We were last meeting. You guys wanted to see the Highland Avenue project overview.
Oh, okay.
We could do it next meeting.
Yeah, because I don't think anything's going to happen there between now and then.
No.
Are there graphics?
There are some graphics, yes.
Is that something that could be shared after the meeting in preparation for the next meeting, so that we could see it ahead of time and have questions ready?
Sure. I don't see why not. Yeah, I could send it out to everybody this week, so you can review it for a month and have comments next meeting.
That would be fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Barbara, anything? Oh, I'm sorry, Judd. The bike plan?
No.
Okay, and we are going to meet in December sometime other than Christmas Eve. Okay, thanks.
No.
Barbara, anything going on in events?
I really wish there was. We're looking about 6 months out for that. But with your permission, I would like to contact Nickey Ayers and see if I can get more information what her group's doing, what their problems are.
Sure.
I think that's sounds like they're having a real difficult time there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, why don't you and I chit chat either tonight or maybe sometime tomorrow, and we can sort of put our heads together, because I would like to also involve the community policing folks.
Perfect.
Yeah, can you keep me in, get me in on the loop?
Sure,
Colin. It affects me directly, so involved as I can.
Yep, will do. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
Jim Carter is at another meeting, but I have his report from the NRVT. The missing link has gone out to bid, and I believe the Common Council the Public Works Committee has approved Deering as the contractor, so we should be on target for a late summer, hopefully, opening of the missing link. Will Walk, the RFP is being finalized right now, and it involves portions in Norwalk and in Wilton. So the RFP is actually going to be sent out by Wilton, and that seems to be on target for a summer opening as well. And I think that's about it for the NRVT. Are there any questions on that? Okay, if not, Audrey, the pedestrian committee.
Yes, hi, everybody. Hello from the pedestrian side of the world of Norwalk. I wanted to bring people up to date, the commission up to date on some of the topics that we've been discussing in the pedestrian committee. And since time is tight, I could also briefly touch on grants, which comes up later in the agenda. And Nancy, you can let me know. We're talking about meeting with city personnel to talk about budget opportunities, to make sure that our goals are not redundant nor missed in the budget process in the city. We're also interested in meeting with state representatives for safety concerns on our state roadways. We just want to make sure that not all the roads in Norwalk are city roads. Some of them are state roads, and there are some issues that have been identified on Route 1, Route 7, et cetera. We're also researching best ways forward to conduct walk audits. We recently had a few folks from the commission and the pedestrian committee attend a webinar hosted by Sustainable Connecticut and Bike Walk Connecticut and on conducting walk audits. So we're looking at that. We're also discussing quick action or pop-up projects. And some of the grants that we're looking at are looking for those types of quick action projects. We're also in contact with a walking dude, a guy young guy, Matt Green. I don't know if you've seen, I know Barbara and a few others have seen, there's a new documentary out called The World Before Your Feet. Young guy, millennial guy who's walking every inch of the 5 boroughs, and has a wonderful website with historical information, a little like what Barbara McCabe has brought forward in terms of highlighting some of our historic and interesting gems that can only be seen when you're walking and biking around Norwalk. So I contacted this young guy, Matt Green, and he said he would love to, after the pandemic, lead a walking tour here in Norwalk. So he's kind of a minor celebrity. So we're going to take him up on that. We're also looking for greater visibility through social media. I have content promised to Tanner and Julia Green at the health department about some of the things that we're doing, really cool documentaries and supportive, interesting information for our community. And I'm happy if this is a good time to talk about some of the grant opportunities. Or
you want to wait till we get to that topic?
Yeah, so we're busy in the pedestrian committee.
Yes, you are. Any questions for Audrey? Okay, if not, Christine, you have anything on safety and education?
Well, the only thing I was thinking of, Nancy, is regarding the cards you mentioned and Mary Oster's project. I wonder, and I would be willing to offer to volunteer, but to get some commissioners involved with stuffing those bags, and also really to get some PR around that for our commission, perhaps.
Okay. So if you can write something up, we can certainly push it out to social media.
Okay, and can you just remind me again, you said that was a project for December, or there was an event?
They're being put together now because she has volunteers doing it. Obviously, she's not going to stuff all these, but they won't be distributed till January.
Okay, I'll reach out to Mary.
Sure, thanks very much. Tanner, social media?
Yeah, so pleased to report that our Facebook page is getting some more traction. We compared to, let's see, whenever I started working on social media, we had about 135 followers on our page, and we're up to about 155, 160 now. So we're growing. We've made a lot of posts, both me and Nancy, and also Deborah, who is no longer on the commission but still helping out, have been posting. We recently got a lot of followers due to a cross post that I made in the Livable Norwalk group, inviting members of that group to like our page, and we got several new people there. We've formed a subcommittee with me and Sam and Julia from the Public Health Department, and Audrey as well. And the four of us met on Saturday. We're still definitely in the brainstorming phase about what we might do to increase our reach. Nothing to report on there, but we're going to keep working to diversify the kind of content that we're producing, and also make the content more effective at engaging people.
Well, you've been doing a great job, Tanner. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Nancy.
Anybody have any questions for Tanner? All righty.
I guess
Strategic. I'm
well,
sorry.
one more comment there. I just want to invite everybody again. If you haven't reached out, if you are active on Facebook, or at least somewhat active on Facebook, and you haven't yet posted about our group to your friends, please do so. Personal invitations make a much bigger difference than basically anything else. And if you are a member of other groups in Norwalk, like for example the Livable Norwalk that I posted in, if you could just post in those groups saying, hey, I do this, I believe in biking and walking as parts of a great city, we're producing great content, go follow us. I think that could go a long way to getting a bigger audience for us.
Okay, well, thanks again, Tanner. Teresa, a walking update.
What Audrey and Tanner said, and end of update. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, we've been really fortunate. Julia has been able to participate in those meetings and discussions about how to engage more people in the community and walking, especially while we're, have a pause on group activity. And so her goal now is to pull the pieces that are happening at the Bike Walk Commission with some of the other, activities that we've been discussing, talk about virtual events and walks for the next few months, and then hopefully tentatively be planning for some more, some more public activities, once things get a little bit closer to normal, when the weather is warmer and things are getting better. So she's trying to pull together short term and the long term, and then support those different activities that Audrey and Tanner both discussed on social media and otherwise.
Great. Thank you very much, and we really appreciate you taking time to attend our meeting, since we know you have a few other things on your plate.
Sure, my pleasure.
Alrighty. Old business. You will recall that Tanner had an idea of a way for us to communicate more effectively between meetings, but still in a forum that was available to the public to comply with Freedom of Information Act requirements. And Tanner, you want to update us on where you are and what's going on that?
Yeah, I unfortunately I don't think I have an update since the last meeting, but I'll give just a quick overview of where we were last month. I went through the Freedom of Information Code, that's state law, and read it in a pretty detailed fashion. And it sounds like essentially it's not just the requirement that stuff be public that is holding us back. It's the requirement that basically anything that we do as a commission be routed through a meeting. Essentially, like communication that isn't formally recognized as a meeting is not, doesn't fall under any part of the law, and I think then wouldn't be possible. So it sounds like the way forward is not necessarily to get somebody to interpret the law correctly for us, but it's looking like it might be more likely that the issue is that the law just needs to be changed if we're going to do stuff like send emails to the entire commission. I took an action item that I haven't yet done, which is to talk to the state FOIA office and to just get their take on it. So I'll report on that at the next meeting.
Okey-doke. Well, thank you, Tanner, for continuing to pursue that, and hopefully it'll eventually have a happy ending for us.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, and the next old business item is also Tanner. We had talked, I think, last meeting about both your individual need for a winterized parking for your bicycle, as well as the larger the larger question of how the city looks at parking vis-a-vis the zoning regulations.
Yeah. So as far as the personal issue, I have updates there. As far as the town level zoning issue, I don't think I have any updates there. But again, just to summarize, I'm looking for a place to park my bikes. I live in a townhome in a condo complex. I have 2 spots that are assigned to my unit, and I figured I should be able to use those however I want. Turns out that if I want to build a shed there to keep my bicycles, that falls under the purview of the zoning department because it's structure. And initially they said, you can't do that because then you're taking up a parking spot, and parking is for cars. And so I brought it up at a previous Bike Walk Commission meeting. Nancy put me in contact with Steve Kleppen, who's in charge of zoning. I've been working through it with Steve. It turns out that when my complex was built, the parking minimum requirement, according to the zoning code, was higher than it is today. And thus, Steve is okay with using a parking spot for a structure, in theory. I still haven't gotten the permit because I think he needs to look at the exact setback requirements, but it's a tentative small victory.
Okay, well, and also the zoning department is in the process of starting to revamp the zoning regulations, and I think that's where we can have some input into the larger question. And Steve did say he would keep me apprised of when we should show up at meetings and send in emails and that kind of thing. So I certainly will keep all of you apprised as well.
Yeah, awesome.
So thanks for bringing that up. Okay, and under new business, Audrey, do you want to talk about I did include a link to the AARP Community Challenge Grant Program for those of you that want to find out more about that particular program. And Audrey, you want to talk about grants in general and that one in particular?
Sure, I would love to. Whether we need the funds or not, depending on the project, I see these grant applications as a great way to get visibility, to let people know that we're at least applying for these grants and what they entail, because they're very exciting. And so Tanner and Julia and Sam and I talked about adding content. So the AARP Livable Communities Initiative is not just for old folks. It's actually for creating multi-generational, equitable, and climate justice, a whole lot of sustainability. And so their 2021 Community Challenge Grant, the general description, it celebrates the creativity and dedication of local leaders by awarding small grants for quick action projects that improve local housing, transportation, public spaces, technology, and civic engagement, et cetera. I wrote to the Community Challenge Grant team, which somebody named Tracy wrote back on Friday. The cycle is February of this coming year, 2021. So between February and March, we need to submit the application. And the grants, the average grant is $13,000. So AARP Livable Communities hands out about $2.4 million a year. So they said that they typically range between $500,000 and $23,000. So basically we come up with a project and ask for the dollar amount that we feel we need. So that's kind of open-ended. They said that these are for a 4-month duration project. So this is known as, in quotes, a quick action project that would need to be completed late summer, early fall. So we want to put on some thinking caps for that. There's also Sustainable Connecticut has a community match fund, so we'd have to match the funds. So again, if there's some funds available, this one is completely open-ended. We can ask for as much as we want, obviously within reason. But again, this is for efforts that bring more equitable, sustainable, and vibrant communities for walking, transportation issues. And so this is another grant I'm going to find out more about in terms of their expectation for application, et cetera. We also have our America Walks grant, $1,500, but it's not a big one. but I'm going to be giving Tanner and also the Oak Hills Park Authority a blurb. And Julia says she'll put it on the health department, because this is the example that all of these grants are looking at is the bringing together, the knitting together of sort of unlikely groups or constituencies of a city, both municipal and nonprofit, volunteer, that don't normally come together over issues of transportation, equity, multi-generational development, climate justice. So our current grant brings together the Norwalker program through the health department at Oak Hills Park, which is a city park, and the planting of a sustainable and restorative meadow. And we're going to be getting help from Connecticut Deep on that. So that brings in the state as they're going to volunteer this. So expenses for transportation, bringing in underserved community, which includes isolated seniors. We've got the health department and the housing department interested in helping with this. So this is these are all worth highlighting in a very visible way. And I think it would let our community here in Norwalk know how much we are looking out for them. And even if we're not awarded the grants, the intention, I think, is really huge. So we're going to be, so I got to work up some blurbs and flesh out some content. But as we apply for these, Carl Dickens, who's the chair of the Oak Hills Park Authority, said, I want to spread the news about this grant as far as I can, because this is great. This is great visibility. So that's sort of it on grants. And with those cards in English and Spanish, we recommended during the pedestrian committee meeting to get those out to veterinarians' offices, because a lot of people are out walking their dogs and are not following some safety issues. So if you've got a vet and you want to take some cards and drop them off on their front counter, recommend that too. Thank you.
Yeah, as far as the cards and for any other avenues, let me know, since I currently am storing them in my closet here.
You could put
Right
them in
behind
your
me, this closet right
Christmas
here.
stockings. Christmas stockings.
And also, Audrey, when you get the blurb together about the grant we already applied for, send that off to Josh Morgan as well, so he can put it on the city's social media.
I would be happy to.
Any questions or suggestions for Audrey, who's done a wonderful job so far? And we look for her to continue to find grants and apply for them and give us visibility and also money to do things.
You can always follow up at another time if a little light bulb goes off, because we're looking for projects. And I'm going to suggest, I'll send out to everybody some projects that have been done, grantees that have been awarded, and the kinds of projects they were doing for our inspiration.
All right, well, thanks again. And we've done so well at being concise that we actually have some time, I think, for me to go back and finish off the one topic from the chair's report that I was going to defer until January, if that's okay with everybody. So if you recall, in June, we ordered a fix-it bike station, which is similar to the one that's at the beach when you cross over from Westport into Fairfield. I think it's called Southport Beach. It has a whole bunch of tools attached to it so they don't walk away. And Colin and Sam and I met, I think maybe 2 weeks ago now, to brainstorm where to put these things. And our recommendations for the fix-it stand were either the South Norwalk train station or Calf Pasture Beach, or somewhere near the intersection of Washington and Water Streets where the Straffolino Bridge is. So our question was, do the rest of the commissioners have any feelings about any one of those three sites or perhaps another? Don't all talk at once.
Nancy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Calf Pasture seems like a perfectly good place to me. I mean, if we only have one.
Well, we, could potentially, depending on how this one works out, once we actually make it available to the public. I did put some money in the budget for the fiscal year that starts July 1st of 2021 for additional things like bike racks and the repair stands and so forth. So presumably, if this one is well received, we could purchase another one in the next fiscal year. Or if we have enough money this year, we could actually do it this year as well. Yeah, Tanner.
For the sake of brainstorming, another place that we might consider putting one is at Oyster Shell Park, especially because it's along the Norwalk River Valley Trail and especially an existing stretch of it. One comment about Calf Pasture Beach is that Calf Pasture Beach, I've actually run into a situation where it would have been used. I was at Calf Pasture Beach once on a ride, and I had stopped at the cafe there, I think it's called Ripka's, for some food, and a woman that I didn't know asked me if I had a bike pump because she noticed I had a bike, and I said, I do actually. I had a little tiny one, but she had a flat there. She had biked to the beach, and she would have used the pump, the repair station if it had been there. So there's one data point.
Yeah, I've had experience with that as well, helping people change flat tires.
I'd like to counter. My first thought was, yeah, calf pasture, great idea. I'm just thinking about people riding bikes to get to work, and the part by the bridge, that seems like a big access point from South Norwalk for the disadvantaged people who do rely on bicycling to work. There, because it's, getting to work is critical on time, rather than you're out for a leisure ride down to the beach. And that's just a thought. But like you said, Nancy, if we can get two, that'd be.
Where on the bridge or near the bridge? Where?
Well, like Veterans Park, is that where you were thinking? Somewhere over there?
If I recall the discussion, we didn't have a specific location, and we kind of wanted to hammer that out. But the consensus was that to your point, that access point was a good cross section, and that's a major east-west route, and you do get the people that are commuting by bike going through there, and it's right visible to downtown. So it's a good midpoint to go to, and for reasons of I think security, or just kind of not wanting people to vandalize it, we wanted to make we thought that making the location a little bit more visible and uncomfortable, for lack of a better word, is probably best. So visibility and would be paramount, but that also allows it to be seen, and the eyes on the street concept of keeping people honest and keeping it from being vandalized, but used when it needs to be.
Yeah, I think if it's going to get used. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
And by who it's used, right? So calf pasture is an excellent location, but you're likely not catering to people that are using bicycles in a way outside of recreation. It's not a through route to a real destination, or like a socially functional destination. Whereas the bridge is.
Sense. I would retract my suggestion then for calf pasture, and I think for the first one, I think a Vets Park or somewhere, on the South Norwalk side of the bridge, if it's possible to find a spot over there, because there is a lot of commuter traffic, or bicycle commuter traffic that goes across the bridge. And
Audrey?
Yeah, I noticed a lot of traffic, a lot of folks who seem to be riding for work purposes, going past the library on Belden and Mott Street, and maybe the library is a location for a bike repair center, because that seems to be a crossroads, and for those who are working, and it's a safe place. My suggestion.
That has another couple advantages. One being that it's already city property, and another that it's I think there's already bike parking there. I think that our first couple installations should be at places where people already park bikes, so that we get visibility. And I think having the repair station also is a good signal to people that, like, that not just that they can repair their bikes, but just that this is a bike friendly area. Like, people bike here.
And the library is a safe place. I think people look to the library as a safe place.
Sure.
Yeah, my hesitancy with down near the Straffolino Bridge somewhere is with the walk bridge project. That whole area is going to be a mess for, I think, quite a while. So that would not be my first choice for that reason, although I do understand that it's a good nexus for commuting cyclists. I guess also, as a former commuting cyclist, I used to carry a lot of stuff with me when I was a commuting cyclist. And I don't know whether that's in general true of other commuting cyclists or not, whether because it's their mode of transportation, they are more self-sufficient than perhaps the average recreational cyclist. I don't know how the rest of you feel about that.
I think it
Harrison
depends.
dropped a note into, oh, sorry, go ahead, Colin.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it depends on the type of commuting cyclist that you are, and what your what your income level is, probably.
Yeah, I think that income level is key. And in South Norwalk, there's lots of low-income bicycle commuters who, it's their only option, and I don't see them carrying much of anything.
Okay.
But,
Sam?
I just saw that Harrison dropped into the chat a suggestion to place it near the Sheffield Island Ferry, which is actually not far from one of our considered drop points in the North Water Street Park.
Yeah, I was actually going to just bring that up too, Sam. I saw that in the chat, but if you go to the street view and look at that corner kind of right by the flagpole, I like Nancy's, or who threw out the idea with the bike friendly and there should be parking. Was that Tanner?
That was me.
That was you, yeah. I actually kind of like the idea when you brought that up of combining it with one of the parking racks that we got. So that might be a good location because it's down at the tip of Washington Street. There's a repair stand there. There's on the corner where the ferry is, there's a flagpole and like a little path that goes from the corner to the parking area and that little minor esplanade where the ferry boarding is. And that could be that's city property because I believe that's a park. So there could be an improved hardened surface to anchor it to and provide a pad for the bike rack and also the pump facility. And that's open and relatively unobstructed and very visible.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. So I don't know, Mike, maybe you and I need to talk about where in that area would be appropriate.
Yeah, a lot of that area is going to be disturbed by the walk bridge project, so we'll have to look at it closely.
Yeah. All right.
One last brainstorming idea would be the train station in South Norwalk, or East Norwalk for that matter.
The problem with that, I think, Tanner, is that people, I think it would serve a different crowd. Like, you'd have to be very premeditated to use it there. It's a good place to tell people, oh, this is here. But if you're racing to the train, a fix-it stand at the train isn't much help. And,
sure. I think that's a good point, but it does have a high amount of visibility.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, a lot of people would know that it's there, and then if they needed it, they would know where to find it.
Yeah, I think we need to think about buying 4 to 6 more because really, I could see.
Yeah, no, I agree.
At each side in South Norwalk. I mean, there's bike racks on both sides in South Norwalk. I think I just looked at Google Street View, and that flagpole seems like a pretty good location. I could maybe see one over at East Norwalk train station. There's a bike rack over there on the New York bound side that in normal times gets a fair amount of bicycle parking.
Mhm.
Well, is this something maybe you all want to think about and we'll bring up next month before we start to, or maybe Mike, you and I can figure out some potential places somewhere near that ferry and consider the rest of the places after you all have had some time to think about it.
Yeah, I know they're moving. I know they're moving the ferry dock as part of the walk bridge, so that probably won't be work too well. But
Yeah, I mean, I do like the visibility of that area. I think it's probably more visible than for commuting cyclists than anywhere else. I think the second most visible place would be the beach.
Yeah.
One more idea, if you'll humor me, Nancy. Do we know how much people tend to use their bikes in conjunction with the transit district, with the buses? I'm thinking that maybe at the Wheels Hub might be another good location.
That's a great idea.
You know, it's the same as the train station idea, but it serves you know, a lower income set of people.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And there's that little park kind of on the edge on is it Wall Street or East Main or East Wall Street and Main?
Yeah, yeah.
That
That's
little park.
Burnell and Maine, I think.
Yeah, that grassy area. I have a question, Nancy. Is there an opportunity to have our logo on these stands or something that shows that this is, you know, the work of the commission or the city or?
Well, we could certainly do the social media stuff. I'm not sure.
Stickers and paint.
'Cause I know the one in Fairfield was donated by their equivalent of this commission. But there's nothing on it that says that. They just did a whole bunch of PR around it when they did that. Which we would certainly do as well.
Just a thought, in Philadelphia, where I'm from, in case I need to remind anyone of that again, we used to have a massive graffiti problem, and one way to both, and a condemned housing problem. And one way to uplift the communities was the founding of the Mural Arts Program. And they found that in beautifying neighborhoods with these really extravagant, lovely murals, they also reduced graffiti because people actually respected the placement of the mural to not tamper with it. And I do think that these things would probably be pretty likely targets of mischievous youths. But I'm wondering if we can collaborate with communities or businesses to make them unique, make them have a little bit more street cred. Yeah.
Can they help like something with skateboarders? Like, is there something like a faulty skateboard could get repaired by? That might be. I
mean, skateboards are really easy. It's just 10 millimeter, 4 10 millimeter nuts and then a Phillips head. I was thinking more along the lines of like, how can you almost invite a community to draw all over this thing and make it
give it some personality.
Yeah. Like kids do it, or
maybe that's one of the pop-up quick action projects.
Well, that could be maybe that's the signage, Sam, because I mean, it would be good if we have a sign of some sort that says, you know,
yeah, use this.
Use this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, I really do think that I said this in our little meeting, but I think that the best customers per se will probably be the kids doing wheelies all over town.
I agree.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see that. I've done some work at Domus, which is a program in Stanford, and there's quite a bit of enthusiasm for working on bikes among some of those kids. And furthermore, it is the kids that are part of the wheelie culture that seem to actually have some grasp of the mechanics in the first place. So to empower them, I think is a good segue for the rest of the community to use it, or at least invite them to help them use it or something.
Sam, that reminds me, I was going to talk to you at some point about bicycle co-ops and what one would look like in Norwalk. We should do that offline.
Okay.
That's what Harrison should do.
I got some ideas for you on that, Tanner.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll invite you.
All right. Well, maybe the committee needs to meet again and thresh out some of these ideas and come back to the commission. And then we also need to take a look at, we bought 5 bike racks that accommodate 6 bicycles each. And we are looking at perhaps donating them to some of the schools. And then we also have the yield to pedestrian signs that go into crosswalks that we need to flesh out. So perhaps the committee of Colin and Sam and I need to put our heads back together and come back to you with some more concrete ideas and flesh out some of the ideas about this bike station as well as maybe trying to figure out how many more we want to budget for in the future.
Yeah, and Gary too. I think I owe a response regarding bike racks at schools still.
Yep. Oh yeah, and Gary, I'm sorry. Forgot about you. So sorry.
Real quick, Nancy, I got a bit of an answer about the maintenance of the pedestrian signs.
Okay.
And I was told that DPW will respond to requests to repair them or replace them. So the ones that are currently out there.
Okay, so rather than using some of the ones we've ordered, they would take care of that out of their budget?
No, that's not exactly. I thought we were concerned about how do we let the city know that they're gonna, where they'll be, get approval for it, and then I think other members of our little meeting felt you're concerned about what happens when they get knocked over and such.
Right. Yeah, the issue here for the rest of the commissioners is these are the signs that go in the middle of the crosswalk, and they tend to sometimes get moved or run over or need to be moved out of the center of the road before snow plows, if we have any snow to plow, come and run them over. Okay, well, thank you, Gary. I'm sorry to have left you out. Okay, so I'll put that on the January agenda under old business, and perhaps we can come to a decision and get some of these things out there. Okay, unless somebody else has something to say, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I had one question because I wrote it down weeks ago, but I don't know where the notes are, so they're useless to me. But was it Audrey who is the chair of I think it was just education as a subcommittee, or?
No, that's Christine.
It was Christine. Okay, Christine, I owe you a email as well. That is all.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I bring one other thing up? Are we out of time? We're out of time. Okay, next time.
Okay. Well, and in the future, the reason I send out the draft agenda is if you have anything you want to talk about, that's your chance to have me put it on the agenda, because per Freedom of Information, we're only supposed to be talking about things that were on the published agenda. Okay, so back to adjourning. Christine, you had your hand up. Was that to speak or to make a motion? Motion. Okay. Christine, and do we have a second? No, Tanner, oh, okay. I saw Tanner first. Alrighty, and since we won't all be together again until 2021, have a safe and hopefully enjoyable holiday season, and we'll all get together again on January 4th.
Yay.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.